we are continuing our journey into conspiracies surrounding the political dynasty known as the Clintons here in the United States.
History is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
As you said, the Clintons were never formally charged with a crime in the case of Whitewater. Several of their associates didn't do as well. Here's what happened. The Clinton family partnered with another family, the McDougalls, James and Susan McDougal, and their scheme was, I'm using the British connotation of scheme. It wasn't really a conspiracy. It was like their plan. They wanted to buy 230 acres of land, and on this land, they wanted to build a bunch of vacation spots. They essentially wanted to sell second homes to folks. That was their demographic, right? Folks who can afford a second home and retirees, possibly. And this is strange because at this time, this story really starts when Bill Clinton is already governor of Arkansas. He's the governor of an entire state. He's elected in 1978. And at this time, his spouse, Hillary Clinton, is an associate at a law firm, and they're looking for ways to make extra cash. That's totally true. And imagine, folks, everybody listening today, unless you are one of 50 people, you are not governor of a state. So wherever you are at in your life, you have to ask yourself, would I be looking for a side gig if I was the governor of the state in which I live now? That's baffling to me, but it happens all the time. Most governors have, multiple business interests.
Oh, for sure. So in this business interest back in 78, when Bill Clinton was Governor Clinton of Arkansas, we were working with the McDougalls and looking at that 230 acres in a place called, or near, Flippin, Arkansas. Like, isn't that hilarious? Flippin, Arkansas. We're going to buy some land out in Flippin, Arkansas, and we're going to put vacation homes on it and make all kinds of money. If you're looking at a map of Arkansas with Little Rock kind of in the center of it right there, that's where the Clintons were hanging, running the place. Flippin is north, almost due north, a little bit to the west, and it is right at the top there, right before you get into Missouri. And it is. I'm imagining it here in Georgia, and this is just for anybody in Georgia who's listening, because this is how I'm picturing it in my mind. We're in Atlanta, which isn't the center of Georgia. It's kind of north central Georgia, and if you go north from us in the same direction, in the same way, you would hit the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is a very popular vacation place or a place to own a cabin as a second home or something like that. So I'm imagining it kind of like that, but probably a little more nice than the cabins I've stayed at in Blue Ridge.
Ideally, the concept is sound, right? So this guy, James McDougal, goes to the Clinton family, goes to the governor of Arkansas and says, hey, you guys want to get into the vacation home business? And they have this like series of double dates, James and Susan and Bill and Hillary, and they lay out this plan. So what they want to do is make a nice getaway destination for folks who enjoy the outdoors. And they say, okay, we're going to sell these homes and people can go fishing on them, right? Or they can go hiking. It's a place to take your grandkids over the summer, that kind of stuff. But they messed up. This is not a conspiracy. They messed up in just the basic hygiene of the idea. The land itself was not super good. It wasn't readily accessible in a lot of ways. It was still recovering from previous flooding. And that accessibility piece is something that would not have changed regardless of flooding. You would need to lay an interstate a little bit closer, or you would need to have other things that pull people in that this development could sort of satellite off of. Like the Blue Ridge Mountains here in Georgia, that works because of its location relative to an interstate and state roads.
Well, yeah, I think it's the state roads are the most important thing. Just like even if the interstate isn't that close, you can easily get on non-dirt roads, paved roads to the place that you need to be. It's not that far out of the way. There's infrastructure there.
Infrastructure, there it is. That's the billion-dollar word, right? You can have very opulent places. Like there's a place a lot of people don't talk about nationally here in Georgia called Sea Island. Sea Island is very posh. I have to go there sometimes. It's candidly not my favorite place.
Wait, why do you have to go there, Ben?
There's a lot of inequality. So the issue with I'm not taking questions, man.
Okay.
So the issue is, first off, they didn't pick a good starting position. Just like a game of Civilization, or does position matter in Catan? We're talking tabletop games.
Yeah, it does,
No,
right? You get to
it.
choose where your starting point is, I think. Or you roll for it. I can't remember. I haven't played in years. Dang.
Okay. All right. Well, we know position is key. They chose a poor position. They were also, and this is not really on the McDougalls or the Clintons, they were also at the mercy of a larger financial climate. Interest rates were on the rise, which means that even if they had a primo position, even if they had a little corner piece of the brownie pan of vacation homes, a lot of people couldn't afford to buy a second home. They were trying to hold on to the one they had. The Clintons, as a result, lost an estimated $46,000 on this. And this is, again, through, 1978 to 1986. Many years later, the investigation starts occurring. Federal regulators are looking at not Whitewater, but another real estate investment.
Oh yeah, this one it's a project called Castle Grand. You undoubtedly heard about this too if you were paying attention at the time. This was backed specifically by James of the McDougalls and their power couple. And this investigation led to James McDougal having to resign from the company that he started. A company called Madison Guarantee I believe this was the savings and loan that he started and was working for. It was he started that one right after the whole Whitewater thing kicked off. And I think it was maybe even to get Whitewater to happen. And the bank ended up collapsing. It was pretty terrible for James at least. And it only went downhill from there for him.
Yeah. A little bit about McDougal. He passed away in 1998. He was hand in hand with the world of Arkansas finance and Arkansas politics. Ultimately, this guy gets convicted on 18 separate counts of fraud and conspiracy charges. These were all due to loans made by his company, Madison in the late 1980s. And check this out, folks, because this company was federally insured, the $68 million that his company owed legally was paid by you if you live in the United States. It was paid with taxpayer money. That's what federally insured means. So funny enough, our boy Kenny Starr, who sounds like a country musician when I say Kenny Starr, our boy Kenny asked for a reduced sentence for James McDougal because McDougal was assisting with the Whitewater investigation. And questions surrounding the Clintons' involvement with Whitewater only grew during President Clinton's first term in office. The investigation about this primarily was concerned with whether they conspired or whether they did anything illegal. The prosecutor who was appointed for this was a guy named Robert B. Fisk, and there were concerns that Bill Clinton himself was pressuring people, was pressing them into financially assisting the Whitewater deal, even though the land was bad, even though it was known by now that people were not able to afford a second home. Clinton reputedly or allegedly pushed this guy named David Hale, the president of another business investment firm, into making a loan, and then other allegations come out, and it looks like the money is dirty. It looks like the campaign that Bill Clinton had to become governor of Arkansas was using laundered cash through this Madison Guarantee via its owner McDougal.
It was a $300,000 loan that this guy, David Hale, was being pressured allegedly by Clinton and by the McDougals and outside forces to give this loan to the McDougals and the Clintons through the Madison company that McDougal owned, right? So it's like somebody's putting pressure on this bank to give this other bank $300,000. And then that money would go up to Whitewater, and that investment would then channel money back to the original investors, then that money back to the original bank that made the loan. But it's just weird because it seems as though the money, as you said, Ben, was just kind of traveling a little trail so that that money could actually be used somewhere else. Because it sure as heck didn't seem like it got used on the old Whitewater flipping Arkansas area.
And again, that's the thing that bugs me about this, Matt, because someone should have known that those 230 acres were not prime positioning, right?
I think they did. I think they did know.
Yeah.
Look, this is me. You can look at the official records and what happened and who got punished for what. But in my mind, this was a shady way to just get cash, cold hard cash, to a political, let's say, asset, a political asset for a group of people that wanted to have that power.
With the understanding it would come in later. It was just a different type of investment.
That's
right?
What it feels like to me.
Same. I'm with you on that because it's weird. The idea of buying this land and developing this land in this way, if it were created in good faith, it feels amateurish. It feels like people didn't do their due diligence or did not care to do so. Anyhow, I like that you're bringing up the consequences of this. I know we're in the weeds here, but it's important. It's important to know the facts. So this guy Fisk issues a subpoena to President Clinton and Hillary Clinton, as they're both involved, related to the problems with Madison Guarantee, which is again run by James McDougall. This happens kind of often when powerful people are asked for their paperwork or their receipts. The documents were missing. No one could find them. And then later, they were found. Were they the same documents? Were they sanitized? Did somebody zhuzh it up a little? Unclear. But all in all, there would be 3 separate inquiries into this this shell game of money, which I think it's accurate to call it that. Each of these were targeted, again, with political motivations toward Bill and Hillary Clinton. And each of those, in that respect, was unsuccessful. They failed. They did not find enough evidence to charge the Clintons with crimes. However, as you already pointed out, a lot of other people did go down. They did get convicted, like James McDougall, et cetera, et cetera.
And his wife, Susan. They both got convicted. And James McDougall spent the rest of his life until he died in prison.
Yes.
And this dude wrote a book in jail.
Yes, he did. He did. Tell us about the book.
Oh, man. Okay, he wrote a book called Arkansas Mischief. He wrote it with a guy named Curtis Wilkie, who's a journalist. And my goodness, this thing has allegations. It's got some allegations, okay? We talked about the shell game of money. According to James McDougall, in his book, he claims that all throughout the 1980s, he was essentially laundering money to get cash to funnel to the Clinton campaign, I guess, or just to Bill Clinton in general, so that he would have spending money. Every month, James McDougall and his associates would take 20 $100 bills, according to James, and hand it to Bill Clinton. So $2,000 every month. And they just give it to him cash. You could use it for anything. Think about that. Imagine getting $2,000 extra every month, just as you get to use this money. And then imagine that's 1980s money.